I was in a special forces camp in Khartoum. So we sit up on top of the bunker. Khartoum is like maybe 500 yards, maybe less. We're talking, I don't even know what we're talking about. And the next thing I know is he's pulling me down off the bunker. I go, what the f-? And he goes, do you know what's going on? He goes, they're shooting at us from the Ville, and we can't shoot back.
Ask a Vet is dedicated to documenting and preserving veteran stories in their own words on their own terms before their stories are gone forever. Each episode is an unfiltered conversation about who they were before service during war and their adjustment to coming home. If you believe these stories matter, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps us preserve the voices of those who served. Ask a Vet is proud to partner with Utah Honor Flight, part of the National Honor Flight Network, giving veterans the trip of a lifetime to Washington, D.C. to visit the memorials built in their honor. Every flight is free to veterans and made possible by generous donors. To learn more or support the mission, visit utahhonorflight.org or find your local hub at honorflight.org. And now back to the show.
Randy Olea. I'm 75 years old. I was born in East L.A., raised in Pico Rivera, then San Gabriel. Went to Vietnam when I was 18, so I left home then and really never went back. Went back for a short time to live with my mom for a few months, and but after that I traveled and lived in various places, so yeah.
Tell me, how'd you end up in Vietnam? What's that story?
When I was in high school, a good friend of mine, Bill Kalat, decided that he wanted to go to Vietnam. And he was a Jewish fellow, and he was following the wars that were going on in Israel at the time, and he was very, very gung-ho about going to war, blah, blah, blah. Now, at that time, I was working for LAPD as a student cadet policeman, and so I really believed in America. I believed in, fighting for our country. I bought that whole idea, and so the idea of going to Vietnam and being of service to my country fit right into my philosophy, if you will. And
what year was this?
That was 68, beginning of.
So things were really heating up at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I was a senior in high school. And so we talked about it and then graduated. We still were talking about it. And I started school at Pasadena City College, PCC, majoring in police science. I was going to be a cop. And that was still 68, I think, September of 68. And went through like 68, beginning of 69. And then that's when I, said, okay, I'm going to go. We're going to go. We were going to go in on the buddy system. We're both going to go to Vietnam. We're going to, the recruiter said, no problem. You guys, if you want to go together, no problem. Oh, you want to be Air Police? Because I was going to be a cop. So we decided to go into the Air Force. And so I was going to be an Air Policeman and he was going to be whatever he decided he wanted to be. I forget, some kind of technician of something or other. But so in May of 69, and actually I think it was Cinco de Mayo, I was inducted. He wasn't there that day, for some reason, but we were going to meet up at, Lackland Air Force Base, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Long story short, I ended up going to Vietnam. He ended up becoming a male nurse in Maine, never went to Vietnam. And that's how I got over there.
Okay. Tell me about basic training. What happened there?
Basic training was, just getting in shape, man. Learning how to fire an M16.
Where did you go?
Lackland Air Force Base. I was in Texas.
Were they yelling at you? Was it that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, man. My drill instructor, Tech Sergeant Lee, was from the South, and he talked like this, and, you will do what I tell you, or I will beat the hell out of you. And, he was, yeah. Look, it was Air Force. It wasn't like basic training in the Special Forces, so it was, it was not as bad. My father treated me worse than this guy ever did. So, they would come in at 4:00 in the morning, beating an empty trash can, getting everybody up. I was up. So my life today is based on getting up early. Yeah. So no, basic training was, Yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't, it wasn't really that hard for me, but it was just getting into the military state of mind. That's really all they're doing.
Oh, you were saying they come in and bang the...
Yeah, they would wake you up and, we have to go out, get dressed and blah, 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 make sure that, our our gig line was straight. If you got a gig, if you got a certain amount of gigs, which were infractions, then you got in trouble, blah, blah, blah. I learned really quickly. I mean, how to make a hospital corner, how to do all that shit and make your bed tight and follow the rules and.
So did you find yourself getting into it? I mean, you just said, I'm going to make the best of this.
Oh, yeah.
You're going for it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say that I was like, I volunteered, man, so it was, to me, it was normal.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to get abused. You're going to get, yelled at. You're going to maybe get punched every once in a while. And so I was, my father punched me a lot when I was growing up. So basic training,
How long were you there?
Oh, wow. 10 weeks, maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It wasn't as long. I mean, that wasn't, once you get your AFSC, which is like your MOS, once you get your assignment, then you go to wherever your special training is. Now, so I got assigned to airborne weapons, blah, blah, blah. Then I went to Mississippi. What the heck is the name of that base there?
I don't know. How was that?
Okay, so that was another 8 or 10 weeks of training for becoming an airborne specialist.
What did that entail? What was your assignment?
Learning for a bunch of stuff, like learning. I had to learn how to work what was called an attack computer, which is it looks like a sundial, and you can figure airspeed and ground speed for air attacks, like for incoming aircraft that were either attacking or being attacked.
Like a calculator or
it's
something?
Like a calculator.
Mm-hmm.
It also worked from Mach 1, Mach 2. It's really complicated. I can't even remember how that sucker works anymore.
It's like learning math in school and then you forget it.
Oh, that's right. And I can get into that too. So, and then you learn to write backwards because I had to work behind you ever seen those big clear boards where they have like all the aircraft or if it's the Navy, all these ships at sea. So we had to like compute or write. Well, when my lieutenant, we would be on headphones and he would say, okay, we're coming in at an altitude of blah, blah, blah. We had height finders, range finders. And remember, everything back then in 1969 was all tubes. It isn't like, I think I said this to you before. You could put all the stuff. I mean, we were surrounded by tubes. We were in a blockhouse on a hill.
So you were frying in there.
No, we were not.
Oh, because the air conditioning.
We had to be air conditioned because everything was tubed. And I mean, wall to wall around you, tubes. So we were well in a concrete bunker.
How big was that place?
It was big enough for 30 guys.
Oh, so it was a good size.
It was big size. That's why I said we were a target. So,
and you're tracking your planes, American planes, and their planes?
Well,
or just theirs?
They really didn't have an Air Force. I mean, there were MiGs, yes.
Yeah.
But that was up north, and that's when I went TDY.
Okay.
Well, temporary duty up north to almost North Vietnam.
And you must have tested into this. They must have known you were good at math or something, or what?
Apparently I was. It was something that I've always been incredibly bad at math, really bad. But I learn well, and I'm a gigo, garbage in, garbage out.
You were picking this up when they taught this to you.
I picked it up. I was pretty good at it.
Was it interesting to you?
Apparently. Again,
that was another life. I guess.
I was 18, man.
Yeah.
So, and I was eager. I was eager, and I wanted to go to Vietnam. So
when you got to that school, they weren't as much yelling at that point.
Oh no, it's strictly in school, 8 hours or whatever a day.
Yeah,
and learning, the ins and outs of radio, radar, blah blah blah.
Is it very Vietnam specific?
No,
what they're teaching.
Well,
you?
It was because it was in a combat zone, but. And when I came back from Vietnam, I also got stationed in a kind of a blockhouse.
Okay.
But it was there was no danger of being attacked or what have you. But we did control aircraft that were flying over that airspace. And I think I told you, when I came back from Nam, they were going to put me in an AWACS, and fly me back over Vietnamese, Cambodian, Laotian airspace. And I said, I'm not going back, because they offered me what was called a VRB. VRB is variable reenlistment bonus. Guys that were in Nam will tell you that's what that means. And a 30-day leave. And then I would go back to Vietnam. And I said, no, thank you. I'm not going back. A lot of guys did, because they wanted the money,
Yeah.
And
so you finish up that school.
Finished that school.
And then what happens?
And went through Hurricane Camille. I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't remember
Hurricane Camille at that time in 1969 was the largest hurricane to hit landmass in the United States. And I mean, it leveled.
Oh, wow.
It leveled the areas around my base, and it looked like an atomic bomb had hit. And we went out on body recovery. So I did that for I saw some bodies before I even got to Vietnam. And
was that traumatizing, or?
I think it might have been. It freaked me out, freaked everybody out, and then they said, there are bodies we have to go find because people drowned. People thought that people lived in the back bay, not realizing that water seeks its own level. And, there was an inlet. So if you think of my thumb as like where Gulfport was, and here's the base, and then there's a waterway here, and people lived behind here, but in the back bay, and they drowned because some of them didn't realize that the water level was going to rise where they were, or that it wasn't going to rise as high. That's usually what happens with people that die in that area. They underestimate the power of the hurricane, whatever hurricane it is.
Yeah.
Like the last one, that big one, Katrina.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, passed away from that because they stayed.
Yeah.
Not thinking it was going to be as deadly.
Yeah.
As it had become.
But how many days did you do that? Recovery
I don't remember, man. A week.
Wow.
More than a week.
Were you done with your training at that point, or
we were getting near being done? You'd have to look see when. I don't remember when Camille hit.
Yeah.
But then I got my orders to go to Vietnam, and that was in November. I went in November 8th, which is voting day.
Of 69?
69.
69.
Yeah. Which is, that's ballot day.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time. Of course, I didn't know anything about voting, which was another reason when I came back from Nam, I was fucking angry, because here we are. Most of the guys who come back from Nam were under 21.
Yep.
And we couldn't vote.
Buy beer.
Couldn't buy beer, couldn't vote. So, I turned to drugs. I mean, that's, and hallucinogenics, man. Acid was big, and mescaline, and, all that stuff. And the only thing I didn't do was heroin. Never shot heroin. But I took everything else that you could get your hands on, because I needed to get out. I think for me, and maybe I can't speak for other vets, but, coming back to the world is like, here's when I would see friends that I hadn't seen for over a year, they acted as if they had just seen me. Oh, hey, Randy, where you been? And I'm like, dude, I have all this shit going on in my head, and I needed to get out of that and try to act normal, which you can't do. We just couldn't do it. And you can't talk about it. I flew back to SeaTac, which is Seattle, Tacoma, in 1970. I was still not 21, like I said. I took off, and I was still in my combat boots. And I took off my boots, shoved them in a trash can at SeaTac, and never talked about Vietnam. Never, because people, they were not amenable to that. People did not want, you were baby killers, you were this, you were that. No one ever said, thank you for your service back then, man. No one ever said, oh, welcome home. Never. And I went through, I think maybe one of my girlfriends knew that I think I told her I went to Vietnam, but most people didn't know that I was a veteran.
I think some of it, not even just the baby killer stuff, I think a lot of people just didn't know what to say.
Oh, no. Yeah. And it was
there was this kind of the idea that Vietnam vets were would go postal or whatever. So
Yeah.
people were scared to even mention anything because they didn't know if it was going to be offensive or, right?
That's right. I think you're right. I think it was 1970. So there was we didn't get out of there till 75.
Yeah.
So there was 5 more years of bullshit going on.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I didn't keep track of what was happening.
Yeah.
I never watched the news. I didn't care.
Yeah.
All I cared about was the fact that I need to fucking act normal. I need to act normal. I need to try to be normal. And so, like I told you, I became a bartender in the NCO club, and I played, I got when I came back, I was, it wasn't Mather, but it was the other AirBase in Sacramento, and they were going to put me in AWACS and fly me back over. I said, no way. That my flight commander thought he was fucking me over. He said, okay, Olea, all right. He knew that's why I did that. He knew that's why the flight surgeon said unfit for duty to fly in, for long periods of time, sitting in a position, which was true. I had a bad back. Look, you didn't get comfy beds when you were in Nam. Your bunk usually was like sunk in the middle, or ended up sleeping on the floor. I remember when I went TDY to Da Nang up at Monkey Mountain, I slept on the ground. And you know how it's raining right there? It was monsoon season, and it was raining like hell. Anybody who's been in a monsoon will tell you it's just water. Just anyway. So
let's go back. Let's go back to flying over to Vietnam. You go on a commercial airliner.
When I flew back,
when you went to Vietnam.
Oh yeah. Well, I flew with a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
There was a whole plane of us, and we stopped in Hawaii for an hour or two. Here's the funny thing. One of my best friend's father was a psychologist. He taught at Cal State LA. This is not a story, not a lie. I'm in the airport with maybe 500 guys. We're all in uniform. We all have our sea bags. We're all getting ready to.
This in Hawaii?
This is in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Mr. Phelan, the college professor, was there waiting to catch a flight back to LA. He saw me. He goes, Randy, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to Vietnam. He goes, what? He goes, are you crazy? Are you insane? I go, no, Mr. Phelan, I'm going. He goes, and we talked for a few minutes. And then we flew from there to Guam. We stopped in Guam, and then we flew from Guam to Tan Son Nhut, Saigon. And I was under fire as soon as I got off that plane. There was a rocket attack on the airbase when we arrived.
Did they tell you something before you got off, or you just heard it when you got off?
We got off, and then they're going, okay, we're under fire. Find a place. We have to try to find a place to fucking get out of, to like a bunker, which I never found it, and it was, fortunately, the base was so big that it wasn't hitting us. It was hitting further down the flight line.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. It was, and I was like, oh shit, and I was thinking, part of the reason I left home was because I couldn't handle being around my father anymore. He was just such God bless him. He's dead now, but he was such an asshole. He was very, very,
abusive.
Yeah. Abusive. That's a good word for it. And so I thought, as soon as it was under fire, I thought, I probably could have stayed another couple of weeks and put up with my father. I didn't need to be here. What am I doing here? That's the first, what the fuck am I doing here? Can I say fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So.
What was the mood on the airplane when you were flying over? Was it everybody?
Oh, just quiet.
It was quiet.
Right. It was quiet. As I recall, there wasn't a lot of conversation.
Yeah. The food good on the plane?
No, not memorable.
Yeah.
They fed us.
Yeah.
Airplane food, chicken, probably.
The air when you got off the plane, was that startling or no? I've heard people say it's
hot as hell
and smelly.
And yeah, very close, very humid, even though it was November and it was monsoon, which is weird because it's hot and it's wet. And, so when I arrived there, then they arranged for me to fly to my outfit in Pleiku and in a 123, which I told you. And then I had to fly a few missions in the 123, and you never wanted to be on
how big's a 123?
It's like for 30 guys, maybe 40 guys maybe smaller.
Okay.
It's a small transport. It's a paratroop plane. It's for guys to go jump out of. But we weren't jumping out. So, what I was going to say is you never wanted to fly with Vietnamese because as soon as they got airborne, whoa, they were throwing up everywhere. They were not used to being in an airplane, and it was traumatic for them. And so you could still smell the vomit, when you got on those aircraft. If you flew with Vietnamese, you didn't want to sit. I don't want to be derogatory.
But they just weren't used to it.
They weren't used to it.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I feel for that country, because we had no business being there, really. It was politics.
Yeah.
That whole domino theory, that was all bullshit. We didn't find this out later.
Yeah.
About McNamara and his whole domino theory. And, which we, of course, most of us were there. If you were drafted, you were there because you had to be. But in any case, I mean,
you thought you were doing your duty.
No, yeah, no, and nobody was. Once you were there, it was about making friends, being with your outfit, being with your guys. So yeah. So and then when I got to my unit,
describe that place. Was that where you stationed once you got there? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was flying. I had to fly to Pleiku, Central Highlands.
Yeah.
It was in the jungle. I mean, it was an air base down below, and then we were up above. We were on a hill up above. So we controlled aircraft coming in and out of there. And choppers, we lost, we also, even though I don't think it was on a TDY, but sometimes we would have helicopters, choppers, and we lost one or two of those, under my, when we were flying with them. And that wasn't good. That was sad, because those guys would, be under fire and they would go down. And then it would be a rescue mission flying in, so
Did they start you right away when you landed in Pleiku?
No, you go right. I went right up the hill.
And you stayed up there by where you were.
You stayed up there for your duty, whatever your tour of duty was for that day or night. And then you would come back down the hill and be in your hooch.
Okay.
So that was a daily thing, going up and down. And I guess that was, kind of scary because we were under fire.
You mean getting back and forth?
Yeah.
You just walk?
No, you couldn't walk. I mean, you could walk. But we would have a truck that would come down and pick us up, bring down a crew, take up a crew.
How long was the drive? How long was that?
It wasn't that long. Minutes. I mean, it wasn't, it was like.
But you take fire once in a while.
We took fire a lot.
Yeah.
We were under fire a lot there. And they would, and see, people talk about what is terrorism. Terrorism, in my case, now look, I was not in the shit. I mean, God bless those guys. I haven't, those guys were really the guys that were in the shit, that were grunts. I was not a grunt.
Yeah.
So God bless those guys. I would never claim to be in the same kind of category as those guys. But you adjust to whatever your situation is, you know what I mean? And like they did, like I did, so we would be in our hooch and they would lob mortars in at 2:00 in the morning. They do that for a few days. Then, so you're always ready at 2:00 in the morning. Then maybe they would do it at 5:00 and maybe they would do it at 7:00. So they would change. And that's where the real fear came in, not knowing when
you could never get a routine because you always wondered.
That's right. And that's what they wanted. They didn't want you to get, oh, it's happening, it's happening. And then, okay, we know when it's happening, but no, that's not how it worked. And
was that every other day? More than that? I mean, how often was that every night?
It seemed like every day, but it probably wasn't.
Yeah.
There were days when, we had no, maybe even a week, maybe more, when we wouldn't have any kind of fire coming in, but we would have you've heard of the Jolly Greens that they had those machine guns that would fire. We had guys there were incursions right off the wire, and these guys at night, and so they would we never went out there, like I said, we were. There was the 173rd and maybe another outfits or two of Army, because Army was living with us in our hooch.
Yeah.
So we had Army and Air Force in there.
Yeah.
So those guys were more for protection of us. So, I locked and loaded a few times because they told us, look, they're close. So, I had an M16, but, they would give us ammo. We weren't walking over there. There were a few times when I had my M16 with me and, but no, those guys were the guys that.
And you said before you got there, that base had been overrun.
They had been overrun. Right.
What was the story of that you'd heard?
Just that they'd gotten through the wire, and that they were coming. They got through the hooch, but everybody was evacuated up the hill. And there was one or two guys that I think there was one guy that got a Bronze Star. I can't remember his name, but for his action, yeah, there was a couple of guys that I lost when I was there that were killed. Sorry. I'm okay. I just need a bit of.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm good. It's just that some moments in my life, it's just pretty heavy. Shit.
Let's go into your work. How did you like doing that in the?
Well, you get used to it. It's like not something that
you didn't think about it that much. It was just kind of automatic.
It was my job.
Yeah.
And I was good at it. I was pretty good. I got a couple of awards, whatever, medals.
How long would you be in there?
When
you took it, was it 8 hours, 10 hours?
Oh, as long as they needed to be there. It wasn't 8 hours. It could be 10 hours. It could be, 14, half the day.
Yeah.
Whenever, because if there was a mission and I was part of the mission, if I was, I had a lieutenant. He was the radar guy. He was the guy that would track, and then I would sit with him. And then he would say, well, Leia, I need to know the blah, 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 this and that, and da-da-da-da, what are the, so it was.
And your information, what are you accomplishing there? What is it exactly that you were mapping things out a little bit, right?
When I was behind the board. Now, see, sometimes I'd be sitting with him.
Okay.
And then he would, I would keep track of what he was doing.
So the radar guys were feeding you information.
The lieutenant, whoever, he was in charge.
Yeah.
So he was the officer in charge, and then I would be with him. But sometimes now there was a big clear board of all of the main areas, like there was Pleiku, and then there were the bases on the near the sea that flew out, Bad Cats, which flew out.
What are Bad Cats?
Like
what are Bad
Phantom
Cats?
4s.
Oh, yeah.
I can't really go into that, but
yeah. So did you guys cover the whole
area of the Central Highlands?
And you did all the air traffic stuff over that.
We did most of it.
Yeah.
But there was, the Marines had their guys, the Army had their, but we would control. We could control all of it if we had to.
And like for you specifically, were you just given a few aircraft to follow or certain quadrants to follow, or you were just over the whole thing?
No, there was, I can't remember what the range was, but it was, it was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember how far it was to the sea, to the China Sea. But we could, it was on the radar. But mainly it was 50 to 100 miles, maybe so, and then we would hand off.
Yeah.
Like when I told you I went TDY to Da Nang, to Monkey Mountain, you could hand them off to them.
Right.
So yeah,
How many of those things were over there that you were in?
I don't know.
Probably
There's-
a lot, right?
Yeah, there was more than a few. Yeah. So yeah. So
How many guys were on the base where you were in Pleiku? Was it thousands or was it smaller?
1,000? No. Well, I mean, I don't know. Because there were the guys that were down below
Yeah.
had their own hooches.
Yeah.
Like the guys that worked the flight line, guys that worked transport. There could be 500 guys, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
And in our unit, which was close to the hill,
Yeah.
there was a hooch of there was an upper and a lower.
Was there bars on base?
Was there
any bars on? Any happy hooch? They call it.
I don't.
You don't remember that?
I mean, there had to be, because I remember that they brought in a troupe, what do they call those guys? Like a traveling troupe, and they were Australian.
To entertain you
to
guys?
entertain, right?
Oh, really? What was that?
Like, it was horrible. It was like, really, God bless them, because they were there and they were doing their duty, but they were not beautiful young girls. I mean,
were they singing, or what were they?
They were singing and dancing, yeah. And so there had to be a bar there, but I can't remember. Oh, that is such a good question, because I know, but see, we would get liquor, and most of us were smoking. Most of us were smoking weed, and most of us were smoking opium. And then
so that was really common.
What, smoking weed?
Yeah. And was
and taking speed. There was the stuff called obesitol. It came in those little vials, and you would just break them open and pour them into your Coca-Cola. Like, if we knew there was going to be an action, like if we knew there was going to be something that, a mission that we had to, there was like maybe a lot of aircraft were going to be flying through our airspace, where you take that speed, you'd be up for 2 days.
Like take your own Adderall.
Oh, worse. I mean, I've never been on Adderall.
So obesitol, is that what it?
Obesitol. Like, if you were obese, for people that were
kill your appetite, right?
Oh, and it was speed.
Yeah.
So, and we would be up for 2 days talking. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done speed, but when I would be sitting with a buddy of mine, and he would talk for an hour. And then, I would just wait for him to breathe, and then I would start talking, because that's how it went. He would talk about and then I would talk, and then he would talk, and then the only way we could come down was to smoke opium. So we would smoke what we called OJs, opium joints. So we would roll Vietnamese weed, stronger than anything you ever smoked, until I went to Thailand and smoked Thai weed. But
would the locals sell that to you guys?
Oh yeah, Mama San.
Okay, and they came on base.
They were on base every day.
Yeah,
and
they would clean in the barracks. And
they
all
would
that
clean
kind
the
of stuff.
barracks, and Mama San, can you get? Oh, no problem, GI. number one, GI. And I have some pictures somewhere of my Mama San. And she was in combat fatigues, and so we would always make a joke like, I think she's Viet Cong, or maybe she's Viet Cong, or maybe they're all Viet Cong, because they would come on base, and they obviously would tell, they would get off, I'm sure, and they would give information to whoever.
Did you ever go? Were there villages nearby? Did you ever go off? Did you go off base? What was that like?
Oh no, we went to get laid, maybe.
Oh.
Like we would get in a 6x, which is a big truck, at night. I remember doing that because I got the clap from that.
Was that, did you feel like you had to be nervous going into villages?
Oh, yeah. It was at night, and we went fully loaded. We would go, with the Army guys too, but we all had our M16s. But we would go in, get laid, and then leave. So stupid. So stupid.
How did the locals treat you? Were they leery or no? Did they like the money? Did they?
They like the money.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we could go into the village, Pleiku and Khartoum. I remember going there, but I didn't go off base that much.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, to go. It wasn't that kind of a thing, because there were Viet Cong in there at night sometimes, and we didn't know who or when.
Yeah.
Like I said, and it wasn't, look, we, like I said, we were not under fire a lot in that way.
Yeah.
It was mostly rockets and
Yeah.
mortars, but yeah. So
The food,
I don't remember the food. I don't remember.
not liking it, disliking, just nothing.
There was a chow hall
Yeah.
down below from where we were, we would go further down into the base to eat. There was a chow hall, but it was military, it was shit on a shingle or whatever it was. You've heard of that, right? Yeah, it was, not gourmet shit. But now when I was getting ready to leave, they were starting to Vietnamize. It was called Vietnamization. You heard of that, right?
No, what was that?
That's when they were okay. We were, like I said, we had 173rd or 101st or whoever around Pleiku. But then they said, okay, we're going to Vietnamize. So that means we're going to let the Vietnamese, the ARVN, are going to now take over protecting the base. Well, we just moved, they just moved us, our guys in a little bit and said, we don't trust these motherfuckers, because ARVN did not have a good reputation.
Yeah.
And then they were, when I left, they were building like a cafeteria type thing down on the base where they were going to serve like food. Like I was like, what in the hell? And by the time I left, it was like, oh, this is bad. We knew it was bad, that they were starting to Vietnamize all around the country. They were.
Did you feel like that was that the reputation? That's the beginning of the end. We're just getting out. We're going to pull out. Is that what you thought?
I don't know about
no?
Pulling out, but I know that we were not trusting. There was no real trust of the ARVN.
Yeah.
Do
you think the leadership was just
deteriorating?
Well, do you think they didn't believe it either? They were just trying to sell that to everybody? Because they couldn't really believe that the ARVN were really going to step up.
No.
Could they?
No.
Not really.
No, I don't think so. I can only talk about just where I was.
Yeah.
And I know that by 71, 72, the writing was on the wall, that we were getting out of there. That's what I've later. So like I said, I never watched the news.
Yeah.
This only is years later that I actually, I had to watch, was it Burns that did the thing on Vietnam?
Oh yeah.
I still have an episode or two. I'm watching it to see what happened after I left. Right? Because I don't know really. I don't think most of us knew. It wasn't like we were reading. They had Stars and Stripes, right? You heard of that, right?
Yeah.
The Stars and Stripes newspaper, magazine, whatever the fuck it was, which we never read. I never did, but it wasn't. I think, yeah.
You were just doing you were busy in your world. You had your job to do,
right.
And that's what you did.
That's all we did.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's how every guy there, your sphere of influence, if you will, was very limited.
Yeah. Everyone I've talked to said we didn't know what was going on.
No.
we
don't
were
want to know.
We were on a need to know, and we didn't need to know.
Right. That would only cause more fucking stress. It's bad enough. We did hear about, I came back, I went to Vietnam in November of 70. When did Kent State happen? Wasn't that 70?
I don't remember. But you did hear about that.
We heard about the protests.
Yeah.
I think Kent State happened. Well, I was still in the States and I didn't even hear about it.
Mm.
They didn't. That's how closed in you are. You don't want to know. Even then. I knew Woodstock happened in 69.
I do know there are some guys that I've talked to who were in training, basic, when all that stuff started happening, and they were told they were going to start training to go put down riots.
Yeah, like National Guard.
And they were hoping they didn't get to do it, and most of those guys eventually didn't go. Do that, but they were told that's what they were going to.
Yeah, because of the campus unrest.
Yeah,
the protests were getting very bad.
Yeah,
but I think Kent State was either 69 or 70, and but I do remember hearing, and we all remember hearing, and then talking bad about those hippies. Of which, I remember going to a love-in right before I went to Vietnam. I remember seeing hair. My friends took me to see hair. My civilian friends, I was on leave, and my civilian friends had paid for me to go see hair with them. and we went to see Hair. Later on, when I was working for Club Med, I was in a version of Hair. I had my afro. I had a big afro. When I got out of the service, I didn't cut my hair for a year. And I should show you that picture. Maybe after we're done. I didn't cut my hair for a year when I got, and I was wearing my combat, my cami shirt, which I saved, and it was 1973 when I got out. So, I started college in 73 or 74.
Let's go back. Let's go finish up Vietnam. So tell me about the special missions you would go on. How long would those last? And how would those come about?
I would get called, and my OIC, my officer in charge, they would send me because I knew because I knew, like I said, I can't tell you why I was good at my job, but apparently I was.
Yeah.
Like I said, they gave me commendation medal, and maybe everybody got one. Probably they did, but I know that I went to TDY to Monkey Mountain,
and you'd go alone.
I went alone.
Okay.
And then I would report in to the radar site.
And describe Monkey Mountain. That sounds like
Monkey Mountain was, there were a lot of monkeys apparently, but it was all jungle, man. And it was up a hill. Up a mountain.
Would you see monkeys there once in a while? Or never?
There, I think there I did. Not in Pleiku.
Yeah.
Pleiku, it was all cleared out, except for where there was jungle, which was a ways away from us, and we were never. But at Monkey Mountain, yes, we drove up through the jungle, through the trees and all that bullshit. And my first night there, they left. I was left alone. I slept out in the open. I didn't know where there was a hooch, but there was nobody in it.
That must have been terrifying.
I was 18.
Terrible.
I wasn't even 19 then.
Were you sleeping on a tarp on the ground?
I slept on the ground. Fuck, what? I remember that. And I remember having I came with my rain, that it wasn't a coat, it was like
poncho,
a poncho.
Yeah.
Thank you. I slept with it under that. And I was freaked out, man. And then the next day, they picked me up the next day and took me up there. And I did the mission, whatever it was. It was something to do. I can't really get into it, but it was something to do with an airstrike into North Vietnam. And I don't know why they picked me to do it. Maybe because I could work that attack computer.
How many guys were up in the? There wasn't very many people there. You're saying?
I didn't even look. I didn't count them.
Yeah.
There was a handful at least of us up there. And I don't even remember if they were welcoming or not, or like, what the fuck are you doing here?
You were just like a paid hired gun. You came in there and did your thing. And
I did the same thing down south. I went down south for a mission.
Would you deal with B-52s occasionally?
Arc-Light, yes. They're called Arc-Lights.
What does that mean?
That's the name of those. That's any B-52 mission that I was in control of, or that I was part of, were called Arc-Light. Anybody who was in Vietnam who knows will tell you that's what Arc-Light is. B-52. And you wanted to clear any friendlies had to be out of there. So we made sure that the airspace was clear, and that they had, they flew the mission, and then they would either, as I recall, would land somewhere in Thailand, and then refuel and then fly back to the PI, Philippines. That's where I think they were out of. It never.
But they would unload a lot of stuff. Those B-52s.
Fuck! It was amazing how we lost that frickin' war. It still is amazing to me because those people wanted us out. And they were fighting. I imagine if it was happening here, we would do the same. But see, here's something I found out later. They had almost entire cities underground. It started in World War II when the Japanese were coming in through Indochina. And then it was the French in 50, they got the French out in 54, Dien Bien Phu. and all that. They had already established those underground. I mean, they put tanks down there, man. I mean, come on. They were ready.
I feel like too, you guys were aliens.
Absolutely.
You guys, it's like when you came back to the United States, people didn't realize you'd been sent to Mars or Venus or something, right? I mean,
and that's how
hot,
I felt.
inhospitable.
Yeah.
Nobody from the West wants to be there. You don't even belong there because there's no genetic predisposition to stay in there or anything.
If any Vietnamese were friendly to Americans, it was because they thought we were going to be the victors in that campaign. And that's why so many of them were trying to, if you recall 75, all those thousands of Vietnamese that were trying to get out because they'd been identified by others who said they collaborated.
Yeah.
Same with the French in World War II. Same, with any of the European areas where Americans got them to collaborate with us.
Yeah.
They were, if you saw, I mean, in Italy, the same thing. I mean, there's a history of collaboration, and I'm sure that I never saw it because I was not a part of that. But I'm sure that there were women and men who loved Americans.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they loved Americans, and they say it. Now, I never experienced that because I was in that small pocket,
right?
That area of Pleiku. There was none of that.
Did you do R&R?
I went to Thailand.
Oh, how was that? You went to Bangkok?
I went to Bangkok. Look, because they said you could go to Australia, you could go to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, I'm not going where there are any round-eyed girls. No way. I couldn't handle that. That would really, leaving there would be a bitch. Now, guys went because they had family. They would meet them in Hawaii or Australia or whatever. But you were, in Bangkok, you were sure to get laid. And I was 18, maybe I turned 19. I think I turned 19. And oh my God, it was great. New Phetchaburi Road. I think it was called New Phetchaburi Road or New Phetchaburi Boulevard. It was, to be frank, whorehouses everywhere. And you just could go in and they would be sitting behind glass. And you could pick out whichever one you wanted, or if you wanted to. And they told me, said, buy them for the week. Don't just buy one for the night. It's cheaper by the week. Oh my God. Bought one for the week. She was great. She said, oh, I love you, blah, blah, blah. She gave me the clap too. So.
And you're there 7 days?
7 days. Smoked Thai weeds my first day there, passed out, almost drowned. I went down to the pool and I literally forgot how to swim. It was like, that's how loaded I was from that stuff.
How long had you been in Vietnam before you went over there?
9 months, maybe less.
Was it weird? Was it weird leaving? Was it a relief? Was it? And I would think in some ways it'd be hard because to actually go back must have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were crying. Girls were crying at the airport. Oh man, I miss you. Blah, blah, blah. And she gave me the clap, which took about a week to get, you know what I mean? But it was fun. I mean, look, I had a really good time there. Went to see the recline. I have a picture somewhere, faded picture of me standing by the reclining Buddha.
What's the reclining Buddha?
It's like a 30-foot long Buddha outside because it was all, Buddhists and Hindu, but mostly Buddhists that were there. And, I had hired a Thai guide, and he took me around. And I have a picture of me with him too somewhere. And I remember taking the picture, a Polaroid picture, and we looked at it, he goes, I am very beautiful. I go, yes, you are. I said, you're very beautiful. It was a Buddhist monk. And, I bought a book on Buddhism. And I remember when I became a teacher, teaching Siddhartha. I don't know if you've ever heard.
No, what is that?
Siddhartha? Oh, by Herman Hesse. Never heard of that?
Mm-mm.
A book.
Is this the name of a book?
It's a book. It's a very, very thin book, maybe 125 pages, maybe less. And it's about Siddhartha. who
he's a person. He's a
he's
character?
a person.
Uh-huh.
He is like the Buddha.
Okay.
But he's not the Buddha, but his life parallels the Buddha, which was Hermann Hesse's, that was his objective, was to teach about a very rich, like the Buddha comes from a very wealthy family, and he renounces his wealth, he renounces his family, and becomes, a beggar, if you will, and he goes through a transformation, and he is very poor, and then he meets a young woman. I can't remember her name, but I did then, of course. It's been like 10 years now, nine or 10 years since I've retired, but he meets her, and she's very wealthy, and he becomes her paramour, and she gets him back into the money thing, and then he renounces that and goes back and becomes a seer, if you will. And he crosses the river, and that crossing is it's a spiritual
symbolic,
journey.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I taught that with my classes, my seniors, when I taught senior English that was way back in 2005, 2006, 2007. So that was 20 years ago.
Take me back. Vietnam.
Yeah.
You have good friends over there?
Oh, yeah. And they were all from New York. The guys in my outfit I was the only Californian, maybe one other guy, and another guy was from Missouri. Nick Terraboch, we called him Boch. Tony Mosca. I looked up to Tony. I love Tony. He was from New York. And it's funny because when I came back, and most people go, "Oh, you're from New York, right?" I go, "No, I'm not from New York. I grew up here in LA." "Hey, you sound like you're from New York." Because if you're with a New Yorker, you pick up the New York thing. You know what I mean? And I was never laid back. I was never like a hippie laid back guy. I was always, moving forward, because that's what they taught me. Tony was I couldn't have got through without him. And Nick the Boch, Tara Boch. I remember those two guys. They were in my outfit, and we spent. Then there was Gonzalez. He was from Texas. He almost got himself shot because we were playing poker one night in the hooch, and I'm Mexican. He was Mexican, but he was Tex-Mex. He was really Mexican, and he thought when we were getting high one night playing poker, he was like, "Oh, you don't speak Spanish, or that you're a traitor to your people, blah blah blah." He was really getting into it, and I remember Tony had a pistol sitting right here, and Tony thought he was going to come after me, and he was going to shoot him. Because he got stood up and, "You motherfucker," blah, 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 high as hell, drunk. And he was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic drug user, which I became later. But at that point, it was weird. I had some there was another Randy in my outfit. Randy was from, I think, Missouri or Kansas. And but he was in my outfit. And there was, this guy was Polish. Cause, it's just been all those guys. And Lufrano, who was our sergeant, he was a good guy. He was a very good guy. So yeah, I have a picture of us sitting on the steps of our hooch. I wasn't in the picture because I took the picture, but yeah, those guys were like, we were family, man, And
I can see it in your eyes. It's just like yesterday.
Yeah,
for your brain.
Well, because I can see him.
Tell me about you told me before we started recording the night. People started shooting at you, and it just got really real.
Oh, I was in a special forces camp in Khartoum, and so I met this guy from Laguna Beach. He was Army. So, "Oh, you're from we were from California. That was the thing, right? because most of the guys we knew were from Midwest or New York or whatever. So we're like, oh yeah, man, come on. He goes, you want to get high? I go, yeah. So we sit up on top of the bunker, right? And behind us is the hooch. So we're smoking in the Ville. Khartoum is like maybe 500 yards, maybe less. Close. They were close. The Ville was. And so we're smoking, we're getting high, and we're talking. I don't even know what we're talking about. And the next thing I know, I'm so high. And the next thing I know is he's pulling me down off the bunker. I go, what the fuck? And he goes, man, he says, don't you hear? Do you know what's going on? I go, no, man, what are you talking about? He goes, look up there. And we could see the wall, like that far to the wall. He goes, look at those fucking holes. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, they're shooting at us from the Ville. I'm like, oh, man. He goes, and we can't shoot back because we were talking about, rules of engagement. You can't shoot into the Ville. You can't shoot into a Ville where there are civilians. And they knew that. They knew that they could shoot at us, but we were not allowed to shoot back. And I was like, that was the first time that I knew that somebody was actually looking at me, wanting to kill me and him. And it was like, fuck. I think that really sunk in later, that I was in a place where people were trying to kill me. Now I know that I was responsible. See, this is the thing about being when you're not carrying a weapon, but you are in charge of weaponry. Because every mission I was on was designed to kill them. So I was part of that, yeah, that was, that was strange. That didn't hit me till much later.
If you got caught with drugs, did they even care?
I never got caught, so I don't know.
Were you trying to be careful about it or no?
The IG. And that was, okay, when you first go to an outfit, they want to make sure you're not from IG, Inspector General. Those are the guys that, they were like IA in the police, internal affairs. So this was IG, Inspector General. And they would send out, every once in a while, guys.
Undercover or whatever.
True.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make sure that I wasn't. So they would say, oh, did you get high? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, prove it. So I had to smoke. First before they would accept me. I didn't even mention.
Well, because they thought you might be IG. Of course, everyone your whole life has thought you were a cop.
That's right. And when I came back, when I came back in the civilian life, people thought I was a cop. And I played cops on TV.
Did you ever have a run-in with IG at all? Or no?
No, I never
Not
did.
that you knew of anyway.
No, never did. I think we were too small an outfit to really, but I don't know. But I never got.
Have you ever heard of donut dollies?
Oh, God, yes.
Did they show up there?
Oh, yeah. What's
that story? First, describe what they are.
These were civilian women who were volunteers that came to Nam to be of service to servicemen. And they would actually, I actually had my hands on 24 donuts that I took up to my squad, that I took up. And I don't remember I think what happened was my top sergeant traded something. I don't know what he traded, but he traded something for the donuts. And that's how we got donuts, from the donut dollies. I never saw him.
Oh, you never actually saw him? He saw him.
Oh. He went down and he did the dirty deed down on the base proper.
So they never actually made it up to where you.
No, never came up the hill. No, but he did. He went down and he got donuts, man. And that happened maybe twice or 3 times. I know for sure. And there were jelly-filled donuts. Oh,
were they good?
Oh, fuck! It was like, are you kidding me?
Did you ever have to do sea rats?
All the time.
Oh yeah. What's your take on the sea rations?
Oh shit. It was the shit hole, spam. It was like, And the hardest thing for me was I had a they were called PSPs. They were like, to open up a can, you had to hook the thing through and then roll it open, which I'm left-handed. For some reason, I could never get it right. And I'd get it halfway and then it would like either snap off or, oh, fuck. Yeah. And then, you always wanted to get fruit cocktail. That's what everybody would hold on to, and you could trade for, fruit cocktail.
What was your least favorite sea rat?
Spam.
Oh, they really did Spam?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It was like, I don't know. It was, let me put it this way. I cannot remember any other of the other stuff that I ate. I ate it almost every day. And they had one that there was a cracker or like a cracker on top and maybe meatloaf. That was real good. That was good.
You actually like that one?
Oh, the meatloaf one was good. I love meatloaf now. But Spam, I can't even look at Spam. And I remember there was a thing that by that English, spam. It was those guys at Monty Python did a whole thing on Spam. Spam. Oh, we'll have Spam. Spam for breakfast or Spam sandwich. And I'm like, no, dude, that is the worst. I think that shit caused cancer or something, man. But guys would get Spam, they throw it. Give it to the dog. We had a dog in our hooch. We had 2 dogs in our hooch.
There's mutts? Just
mutts. And they would bark when there were Vietnamese around because they ate them. They ate the fucking dogs, man. There weren't too many dogs. So we had but I don't even remember their name. I think we called them Dog. Hey, dog. Hey, dog. And loved those dogs. They were very good dogs. They were like, I'll show you my dog. One of them looked like a little bit like my Nova, who's a whippet. She's a whippet. And they kind of look like that. They're mutts, but yeah, underfed and, and we would, I learned how to, from the guys, the Army guys, we would open up claymores for the C4. There was a layer of C4 and then you would have a layer of ball bearings, layer of C4. And they showed me how to open it up, which I can't even remember how we did it, for the C4 for fire. We wanted to have a fire in the hooch. You'd light that shit.
Wow.
Yeah. This faced this towards the enemy. I think it was this side toward the enemy, right? Have you ever seen a claymore?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we would open those up and get the C4 out of them. We were fucking stupid. I mean, playing with dangerous weapons all the time, man. Even though we weren't supposed to, we all had them. Just in case. Again, we were. I was, like I said, I was not deep in the shit, man. That wasn't my job. But we had this shit around us. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Were there mortars going off? Did you guys have an artillery thing at your base that was going off every night? Was that?
Oh yeah. There was always fire. There was always fire, either incoming or outgoing.
So there was just always background noise at the base at night.
Yes. It was an air base that they would try to hit the flight line where the aircraft were taking off from, so they couldn't take off. But they would also lob them. They knew that we were up on the hill, so they would do that as well. I mean, we had stuff landing pretty close.
What planes were at your base? What was taking off there?
It was mostly transport. So there were 123, 130s, 47s. Those were also the ones that carried the Charlie Greens. So, and there were also aircraft that were attack aircraft, like as I said, the F4s. But I'm not sure how long the airline was, the flight pad was, because some things couldn't land there because they weren't long enough,
right?
Or base, the landing zone was too short. So, yeah. And we really and then there were the FACs. You know what FACs are?
Mm-mm.
Forward air controllers. We controlled those guys. Those are the guys that went out over our ground forces, and if they saw enemy, they would tell us. Then we would bring in the attack aircraft.
Were they airplanes or helicopters?
They're airplanes.
Little ones?
OV-10s, Broncos. I don't know if you know what those are. They're a single prop.
That sounds like a sketchy job.
Those guys, yeah. They would fly in and out. They could, so they would fly in before anybody could they didn't have a heat. They didn't have any heat because they were
little prop thing. Yeah.
Anything with heat, then you could fire. What are those things called again? RPGs. So, yeah.
Describe the green.
Those were like
what are they called? The
Jolly Green Giants.
What are they?
They were like a Gatling gun that would fly in a C-47, and it had an open door, and they could, if they would get a call that there were ground forces what's the word? Anyway, coming in on the base or anywhere near.
Yeah.
They would call the Jolly Green at night. I wish I had a picture of those.
And the Jolly Green's the airplane with the miniguns on it.
With the minigun.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a whole unit.
It's one.
And they
aircraft.
would just devastate.
And it was like 1,000 rounds a minute or whatever.
Yeah.
And at night it was just a solid stream of red. And those were like one for every 100 rounds, but it looked like a solid stream. It was scary, man. And there would be
buzz, boom, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It made noise, definitely. Like I said, there was noise all the time, in my mind. That's why I'm really hard of hearing.
Yeah,
and I know that a lot of that happened when I was over there.
So how did it end? How did your time in Vietnam? What happened at the end? How did you get out of there?
Tour of duty is over. So my tour of duty was over 1 year, and I told you that they had they came to me, some couple of officers and a sergeant maybe came to me and said, Sergeant Olea, I was a sergeant by then. Sergeant Olea, we'd like to have you come back. We need you. We need your service because blah blah blah, special this, special that. I'm like, excuse me.
Did it feel like a high pressure sales job? Is that?
Oh yeah. They go, look, we're going to give you what's called a VRB, a variable reenlistment bonus. It was $2,000 or maybe, I don't know how much it was. Because look, I got, I don't know how much, I got like hazardous duty pay and regular pay. It amounted to like $400 a month, maybe less. And they are saying, when you come back, you go home for 30 days and then you come back and you do your same job. And I'm like, no, thank you. All due respect. No, thank you. You had to say with all due respect. That was your ace in the hole. With all due respect, fuck you. With all due respect, kiss my ass. With all due respect, it ain't happening. And so they said, okay. It took them, they tried a couple of times. And I said, no, I'm not, I'm out. So I was there from November 8th to November 7th. I think I came back.
And where did you fly into?
I flew into SeaTac.
And?
I had to go down. I left early. I flew down to Tan Son Nhut Air Base, Saigon, and they had what they called, what was it called? It had a fucked up name, like the Hilton, like a rat, what was it? Anyway, I got the crabs there because oh my God.
The bed was so gross.
Oh no, dude. It was, it was just horrible. It was like a concentration camp. And
that was his final send-off.
I got back to the world and I'm scratching and I'm like looking down, I go, oh my God. And I had to do all that stuff they had to do. And I flew from there to Seattle, Tacoma. And like I said,
man, when that plane took off out of Vietnam,
there was a roar. talking about how quiet it was coming back, it was a roar. Oh, yeah, fuck, we're going back to the world. And, round eye, blah, blah, blah. It was just a lot with X-rated bullshit, and there were female flight attendants, you're going back to the world, I'm like, oh, fuck. It was, yeah, I can't even describe how excited you were, and then I got back there, landed at SeaTac, took off my combat boots and whatever else I was wearing and shoved them in the trash can. And then I flew home, for 30 days or whatever it was. And then I had to go to I went to my next.
Where was it?
Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And
that must have been.
They hated me because I was the only Vietnam vet on that airbase. And it was I guess it was 100 guys. And there was a concrete bunker that I went into.
Did they hate you because you'd actually done real shit? And
yeah.
That's what it was.
And my sergeant, forget his name, Carlisle? What was his name? Doesn't matter. He was a big asshole, and he had it out for me. And he said, "Olea, look at your footwear." He called it footwear because you got to put a shine on those shoes, man. You got to, you got to iron that. You got to do that. You got to, blah blah blah. And he found every reason on earth. My hair. I let my hair grow too long because, blah, blah, blah. And he was on me for that. And the day I got out, I had a girlfriend, Jill Deemer. She was a farmer's daughter, literally a Norwegian farmer's daughter in Wisconsin, because that was all there were around there. There were no blacks or Mexicans anywhere near that area. Never, and I was the closest thing to a black person they saw. and so I get out, I go to Jill's, I stay with Jill's at her house. Now they let me stay there. Her father was, okay. I come back to the base and they wouldn't let me in.
Wow. Because you were already released.
Because I was out and my sergeant was there and he wouldn't let me in.
Wow.
He goes, "You're not welcome on this airbase."
Wow. Isn't that crazy?
I got 2 Article 15s when I was in the service. I don't know if you know what it is.
No.
Have you ever heard of an Article 15?
Yeah, I've heard of, but I don't know what that is.
Okay, Article 15 is the step right before a full courts martial.
Okay.
Okay, so I got one when I think I told you I went AWOL when I was at this airbase in Wisconsin. Every year, every serviceman has to qualify with the M16. Well, I made a promise to myself that when I came back from Nam, I was never going to touch a weapon again. And I kept that promise to myself. And they put up on the duty roster and boom, 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 Olea, report for M16 qualification. I didn't go. So I'm in my barracks in Wisconsin. Yes. Sergeant Olea, you to report to the base commander. So these 2 sergeants walk me to the base commander. Olea reporting for duty, sir. Give him the old salute. He says, "Have a seat," and he starts reading from the Article 15. You failed to report for duty. You're AWOL. Blah blah blah, and then we talk, and he says, "Okay, you're going to Duluth, Minnesota. You're going to Duluth." I was the main base there. He goes, "You're going to Duluth for a medical examination to see if you're medically fit to stay in this man's military." I go, "Okay." They drive me to Duluth, right? Under guard. I'm under fucking guard. I don't know what they were guarding me with. There was no weapons, but they say under guard. I go there, I talk to the psych, and I tell him this shit, blah, blah, blah. He says, "I am fit for duty, but I don't need, I want to change what my AFSC. I don't want to do what I've been doing. I cannot go back. That blockhouse, I had to go in there. Again, you had a visual and you had to punch in a code. Then they had a visual. Okay. Then you go in and you put on a jacket and you go into this air conditioning. I'm not doing that anymore. So they said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want a job where I'm outside." Okay. Motor pool. Just like Sergeant Bilko. Did you ever hear of Sergeant Bill?
I've heard that name. I don't know
that was a TV show.
Okay.
It was about these guys. It was a military thing. And Bill Code was in charge of the motor pool.
Okay.
So I was Bill Code. I go to the motor pool. I was in heaven. They taught me how to drive a tractor, how to drive a deuce and a half. I learned how to, this guy became one of my best friends, George Peter from New York. Teaches me how to ride a motorcycle. I buy a Harley. We take it apart. We put it together. And I'm getting loaded every day, taking LSD, we would go into Minneapolis. There was a place called Dinkytown, which was like the Greenwich Village of Minnesota. Okay. We would go there. It was right by the U of M, University of Minnesota. Any of you guys who know Minnesota, you know Dinkytown. That's where Dylan played. That's where Dylan got it started. Dylan went from Bremerton. No, that's Washington. Wherever he was, starts with a B. And he came down to Dinkytown. Then he ended up going to New York and becoming Bob Dylan. He was Bob Zimmerman. You knew that,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He was Bob Zimmerman, changed his name to Dylan because he loved Dylan Thomas. That's how he changed it. I don't know if you knew that. That's why he changed his name to Dylan, because he loved Dylan Thomas. Anyway, we would go there. There was a place called the Electric Fetus. You guys from Minnesota, if you're from Minneapolis, you know Dinkytown, you know the Electric Fetus. It was a record store, and on the front, along this long wall, it was like maybe 100 feet long. There was a fetus, a baby, and she had an umbilical cord that stretched all the way down the wall. And you would stand outside there, and there would be guys selling you mescaline. And the guy would go, "See that guy over there? Do not buy from him. He is a narc. He's a cop. Don't buy from him." And we bought our drugs there. And I did that until I got out of the service. I just,
Do you think they probably didn't like that you'd served in Vietnam?
That's right. No, that's
because
exactly
at that point, all the pageantry of the military, you realize doesn't mean much after you've been shot at.
That's right.
It's all just kind of like, well, I don't need my shoes shined.
Well,
really.
that's what.
At this point, I've been shot at.
Fuck that, and then that's why I quit that job, because it was meaningless back in the States. You're controlling aircraft that are flying over friendly airspace. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah,
I'm done with that. I'm done with attack computers. I'm done with all that stuff. I'm done with the stress of that job. I'm out. I don't want to, because they said, when I went up to talk to the site, they said, do you want to be discharged? I said, no, because they told me, you had all these barracks lawyers, right? They go, "Oh, Leah, when you go up there, do not let them give you an early discharge, medical discharge. It will follow you wherever you go. Do not take a medical discharge. It's honorable, but it's a little less than honorable."
It's put an asterisk by your name.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he said, "Don't tell them you don't want out." I said, "Okay." So I went up there and I said, "I don't want to be discharged. I don't want a medical discharge. I'm okay. I just don't want to do that job any." And I can't believe they actually said, "Okay." And when I came back, they said, "What do you want to do? What do you want to do?" I said, "I want a job where I can be outside." So motor pool.
So then that's when you got done, and then you decided you were going to go see America. You tell me about that.
I hitchhiked. Yeah. Well, I learned, I picked up the harmonica. I think I picked it up when I was in high school, but then I picked it up and started playing that. And then I got out and I hitchhiked from, I was in Wisconsin and Minnesota because I had a girlfriend, like I said, had another girlfriend from Minnesota. I stayed with her for a few months, and then I had a truck. I sold it and I hitchhiked back to the West Coast. And I was hitchhiking down. A guy picked me up and said, I will take you all the way to LA if you help me drive." And I said, "Okay." Then we stopped in Sacramento, and the waitress there said, "Oh," I had my afro and a beard, and she said, "Oh, are you here for late enrollment?" I go, "What's late enrollment?" She goes, "Oh, for the college. Everybody's coming today for late enrollment." Oh, yeah. I look at the guy, I go, you know what? I'm not going to go to LA. Can you take me to the college? He goes, yeah. I go, okay. He drops me off at 6:00 in the morning. Nobody's there. I find out there's a guard there. I found out that this is where you make the line for late enrollment. And there's a woman in there, a cleaning lady, and I knock on the glass. This is all a true story. None of this is a lie. I swear to God. And I knock on the window and she goes, 7:30. I go, I need to go to the bathroom to wash. She goes, okay. She lets me in. I wash up. I hit out my afro with my afro comb. I want to look good. I'm the first one in freaking line. By the time they open at 7:30, there is a line of 100 people at least behind me. They let me in. I go to the double doors, the Dutch doors. The door opens. There's this beautiful girl with long brown hair, and she's smiling. I don't know who she is. She goes, hi. I go, yeah, I like to late enroll. She goes, okay, great. She goes, where are your transcripts? I said, what's a transcript? She goes, did you go to college before you came here? I go, yes. She goes, or high school? I go, yes. She goes, well, we need those transcripts. I go, I don't have anything. I said, I just hitchhiked. And I lied. I said, I just hitchhiked 1,000 miles to go to school here. Now, the hitchhiking part was correct, but the going to go to school here was not correct. And she goes, well, I'll tell you what. She goes, you contact Pasadena City College, because I told her that's where I went for when I was going to be a cop. Get those transcripts, get your high school transcripts. She goes, and you come back in the spring and we'll get you enrolled. And I go, no, I'm not leaving here until you get me enrolled in college. She goes, sweetheart, I can't, you need transcript. I go, I'm not leaving. She goes, I'm not leaving here. You're going to have to call the cops. She looked at me really long and hard, and she opened up the bottom door of the double door, and she said, come in here. I go in. She calls a girl over. She says, take over. She called PCC. They said, okay, blah, 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 transcript. She goes, you'll have to wait a week. And she and I lived together for like 3 months. Her name was Janie Marquise. Janie, I hope you're still out there. And she and I lived together.
And you became a college student?
I became a college student.
And how was that? How was college?
Okay. I didn't know what to major in. And so I majored in physical education because I said, I'll be a coach. I know sports. I'll be a coach. After 3 months, I'm there. I'm living with a guy, and he is a theater guy. And he goes, we're smoking a number. I swear to God, this is not a lie. Wherever I'm at, I'm not lying. We smoke a number. He goes, I'm going to go read for this play. Do you want to go? I go, yeah. I go with him. I sit we get to the theater. I'd never, ever actually even been in a theater like this. It's a beautiful theater. It's one of the most beautiful theaters. I'm sitting at the very top up there. Everybody that's auditioning for the play is down sitting around the director. Everybody reads. I'm watching. He turns around and he points at me and he goes, he goes, I swear to God, this is not a lie. I go down. My knees are shaking. He gives me a script to read. I read it. First time I've ever had a cold reading. Never.
Yeah.
We go home. The next day, they put the list up, and there were hundreds of people at least that auditioned for that show. I get in. I play Don Homenides de Histangua. Don Homenides de Histangua. The play is I'll think of the play. It was the first play I ever did.
And your buddy didn't get in.
And my buddy didn't get in. And from that, I went down and changed my major from PE to theater arts. And I was in that play. I was in a number of plays. That's where I met Tom Hanks, and his first wife, Susan. Her name was Dillingham at the time. We did Shakespeare together, she and I. And I became a theater person.
Just
And then
change the total direction of your life.
completely. And I told that I became a teacher. I would tell my students, you never know what road you're going to take. And it could hinge on one decision that you make. Oh, I think I'll go left instead of right. I think I'll go straight ahead instead of left or right. And you never know what hi, honey. Hi, this is my family.
Hi.
You never know which road you're going to go down. And
You're good.
I was very lucky. Hi. Are you going somewhere? Hi. That's my wife, Gabby. That's my daughter. And I never would have met them. I never her, and then have her in my family. Hi, bye. How dare you? How dare you interrupt my train of thought? Bye, guys. I like your outfits. Then I did all that, graduated with a degree in theater, and then I got a job with Club Med. I worked for them for 5 years, traveled around the world, and did theater with them. And also, I was a PE guy I actually used my PE expertise and did all that. And, learned to speak French. And then I came back, and then I worked in television, got jobs working in television. You can IMBD me. And then I got clean. And that's when, I decided that I want to do more service rather than going after something that I wanted. Somehow, my higher power said,
how old were you when you did that?
I got sober when I was 37. And was still working in TV, getting jobs here and there. I was by no means a star. I was what you call a day player, And then one day I was meditating, and the word teacher came into my mind, and it just stuck there. And I called my sponsor, and I said, "What do you think? Should I become a teacher?" He said, "Absolutely not." He said, "You will kill a kid." He said, but he said, "If that's what you think you should do, then you should pursue that." At that time, I was 44. I was 44 years old.
Wow, when you decided to do that.
To become a teacher.
Wow.
So maybe 43, but 43 and then 44, I started substitute teaching. I started.
Did you have to go back and get a certificate to do
I had to go to school 2 years at night.
Wow.
I already had a degree, but I needed to get a teaching degree, certification for that. And they asked me if I wanted to be a permanent member of their faculty at this school. I got to tell you, you already know I know how to cry. I cried. I was so overtaken with emotion that here was in my life, being an alcoholic, being someone who most people did not want to have around them because I was not good when I was drinking. And here was a group of educators. They asked the principal to ask me, and they were all sitting in there. There were 6 of them, 6 teachers. And they asked me if I would like to become a part of their faculty.
What a cool story. That's awesome.
It's a true story. And I don't want to get started on this because I'll be crying again. And they wanted me. And you know what that's like to have people now I know what it's like. And over the years now, I've felt that people actually wanted me around. Where before it was like, oh God, don't invite him. Do not sit next to him. Do not be around him. And so I started that journey, and I became a teacher. I was teacher of the year at San Fernando High School, which blew my mind. How do you become a teacher of the year? I have the certificate. My wife, this funny story. I was talking to some friends of mine. We're living in this house. And I said, honey, could you get my Teacher of the Year award off the wall there? And she goes, you were Teacher of the Year? I never told her. I had never told her that. And she was like, oh my God. She goes, oh my God. And, The city of San Fernando gave me an award. I was Teacher of the Year, and I got an award from the city of San Fernando. How does that frickin' happen to me? You know, it's because I got clean, not because of anything. I mean, I did the work, but I did the work because I was clean and sober, and because I learned to be teachable, and that was something I'd never known before. You know, you cannot teach until you become teachable. You can't, and then that is what I learned.
You got humble.
Yeah, humility instead of humiliation. You know, yeah, and it's been a hell of a journey. And I do that now. You know, I'm of service now when I can be. You know, friends know they can rely on me. That's why I have friends. You know, because one of the standards for us is learn to be a friend before you demand or ask for friendship. Give friendship first. Give love first.
You got to have a little in the bank to get anything back from people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've learned that. You know, the journey for me has been so wonderful, really. You know, yeah, there's shit that happens in my life, trust me. But the journey is still going. It doesn't end, you know, and being of service doesn't end. Doing this, doing this, I hope is a journey and a service.
And a service, yeah.
Yeah. Because there, you know, like I said, there are men who have done in combat more than I ever could, but I share that experience of being there. I mean, I volunteered to go there because it started back then, maybe for different reasons, you know. But yeah, it's.
What's your take on that now, looking back?
It's the journey, you know, the journey that I was blessed, really. I've been blessed, you know, that God has seen fit to allow me to go through, not over, not around, but through what I've had happen to me. And and I realize, you know, because I have got, you know, here's the thing. I had many guys who are in my generation that say, well, you know, I didn't go to Vietnam. Hey man, you know, and I say, you know what, man? That's okay. Not everybody had to go to Vietnam. You know, I went, but God bless you for not going. That's a journey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I believe I have no special, and this is the problem that I did have when I came back. And I think a lot, and I've talked to a lot of vets, that we came back expecting something. And that was a problem. You know, I'm a Vietnam vet and I deserve, or I, you know, demand, and, you know, I'm doing this because you guys didn't give me what I deserve. You know what? And that was wrong. That I think is wrong. Maybe I'm wrong for saying that, but I don't think so. I think we did what we did because we had to, for whatever reason, but there's no real special place that we demand. Look, I'm humbled by what has happened to me and who I am today. And I am not wealthy. You know, I don't deserve anything special because I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm just happy that I have what I do have. I'm just lucky in that way. But I work for it. You know, I didn't get what I have because I sat back and said, you owe me. I realized that I'm owed nothing. I am owed nothing. I've earned what I have. And I think it's important that I remember that. And that if I have a message, it's for anyone, it's do the work. You know, I used to work in a recovery place and there was a picture of Mount Fuji. You know Mount Fuji, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, something about, oh God, what is it? Something about you have to, you can, faith will move mountains. That was it. Faith will move mountains. It says that. And at the bottom, it has a small caption that says, but bring a shovel. And it has a little picture of a shovel at the bottom. Faith can move mountains in big, but down here it says, but bring a shovel, which really to me is the answer. You know, I have faith that I'm going to get through what I need to get through, but I know I have to do the work. I know that we all have to do the work. And I've been doing the work, and I will continue to do the work. Because that's my job, man. You know, we have a job. Otherwise, you know, I feel I've done a lot of service work with vets who have been unfortunate, who have not been able to get through their. I have a really good friend right now who I love very much. He's a Vietnam vet, and he's been through this shit, and it's taken its toll, you know. But he did, and I'm not going to mention what he did, but he has done he did an incredibly noteworthy and famous thing. He's famous. You may not know his name, but you know his work. But right now, you know, that the ideas, the things that he went through are overcoming him. And I've tried to help him. A lot of us have tried to help him. And there are a lot of vets like him that have done all that stuff, gone to Mexico and done that thing where you smoke something, I don't know what it is, and it's supposed to like relieve you of all the guilt and shame and all that, but it's not worked. Ayahuasca what is it?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca is supposed to work, didn't work. Not for him. Maybe it gave him some momentary relief, but you know what? I think that there are some things that maybe you can't get over, and maybe he won't get over it. But he had his moment. He had his, and I don't mean a moment like that. I mean a moment in his life, a span of his life where he was able to see through all the shit that he was in, and was able to create something.
Yeah.
But now he's not able to, it's taking back.
I think it's pretty common for a lot of vets that are older.
Yeah.
When it comes back a little bit with a vengeance.
I told you I have a book right there that my wife made me go. My wife, who just walked by, she finally said a few years ago, right after COVID hit, I think what happened for me was I began to, I think being isolated was taking a toll on me. And I think it did for a lot of veterans, that experience of not being able to go anywhere, of being trapped. And she said to me, you need to go to the VA. You need to talk about your experience. And I did, and it's right there. And I did for a year.
Was that helped?
It helped.
Yeah.
To talk about it. Yeah. This helps. To talk about it. This helps. I mean, I'm not doing this for anything but the fact that it might help. Maybe it'll help another vet. Maybe it won't. It's helping me. Selfishly, it's helping me. You know, it's not something that I think any vet would do happily. I mean, you know, it overtook me there at the beginning, just thinking about it. And if I think about it, and when I'm with other vets, I get very emotional. I get very emotional when I'm with other vets, you know, because I know that there's something that we have all shared that have been there that it cannot be replicated and again, as far away from some of the shit that went down there as I was, there was still some shit that I went through. We still have that commonality, you know, and yeah.
There's a cost.
Yeah.
People ought to know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's 1 year of your life and it's affected your relationships, your kids, your
Absolutely.
wife. I mean, it's crazy how that 1 year has such a broad effect.
A long-term effect.
Yeah.
And it's something that, look, there are guys that are coming back from Afghanistan. And I told you I have a guy in my life who, thankfully he's getting through it. But when he talks about it, you can tell he was in the shit. And, guys get blown up over there. I was lucky. I'm really lucky.
You've lived a interesting life, my friend.
Yeah. And you know why? Because when I came back from there, I said, I'm doing what I want. I am not going to let shit stop me. I'm going to do, and I know this, and I've told I'm a retired educator. That is amazing. That is amazing. That to me is amazing. That I have a pension, that I have, I have medical coverage. Other than the VA, I have medical coverage. That is amazing. That a bum like me, I know it sounds stupid, man, but that if, it's a blessing. I'm blessed. Speaking of blessing, here they come. They're coming back. I hope they got me something. Doesn't look like they did. All right. Hi. And see that's a blessing. They're a blessing in my life. They may not feel that way about me, but I feel that way about them. It's the way it is, man. It's the way it is. So,
well, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for
I really appreciate it.
For having the time.
Thank you for sharing your stories, man. And being honest.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thank you. Are we done?
That's it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Wow. That was beautiful.